welcome to your practice. Today we're going to start off finding a comfortable seat, however that looks and feels for you. I'm sitting on a block. You might also like to give that a try. And if you don't have a block handy, maybe a folded blanket. And for today's practice, you will want to have a block or a folded blanket that you can use as we go through. It'll be a really nice prop to have on hand. You might need it, you might not, but it's always nice to be prepared. So we're going to start off with finding a mudra to start the practice. So mudras are just a way of shaping our hands. So the mudra that we're going to use for our practice today is called Hakini. And we just bring the palms to face each other and then connect the pinky fingers and the ring fingers, middle fingers, pointer fingers, and thumbs. And we keep the fingers a little separated. And when you look down, it's almost like we've got a little ball in our hands. So we want to keep the elbows just comfortable by our sides, the shoulders nice and relaxed, the spine kind of tall. So you're welcome to close your eyes if you like, or you can keep them open. Maybe just look down towards the floor and maybe even let your gaze sort of unfocus as you're looking down. And so we'll settle into this beginning of our practice, bringing an awareness to our breathing. The Hakini Mudra is said to be very balancing on an energetic level and balancing on a physical and mental, emotional level. It's also said to help us connect with our third eye center. And the third eye center is said to be a place where our inner knowing and intuition resides. So we'll just take another few breaths here, and you might notice as you settle in that your breath just sort of starts to even itself out. And you may also notice that the breath not only evens itself out, but also becomes a little fuller, a little spacious. You might find that you can get that full yogic breath, so allowing the abdomen to expand and contract as well as the rib cage. So I'll be silent and you can settle in for a few breaths. So one of the things about the Hakini Mudra and tapping into that third eye wisdom is a lesson that yoga brings us, that we are whole and complete exactly as we are. And sometimes we forget that. And so today's practice is one where we just find our bodies moving in a way that feels good. Find ourselves breathing a full yogic breath. And tapping into that inner knowledge and trust that we are whole and complete, exactly as we are. Let's take another couple breaths here, and you might like to even repeat in your mind, I am whole and complete, exactly as I am. And with our next inhaling breath, we'll release the mudra, and if our eyes are closed, we'll let them flutter open. So if you find going on hands and knees to be uncomfortable for your knees, you can stay seated. We're going to find some movements for the spine to begin, just a little warm up, and you can do it seated or on our hands and knees. So I'm going to go into our hands and knees position, and we're going to find some flows through our cats and cows. I'm taking my block and I'm just going to set it near the top of my mat because I might be using it again soon. So as I mentioned, if going on hands and knees doesn't feel good in your body, just stay seated. And you can find a seated cat-cow, just taking the hands to the thighs or the knees. We'll all make the same movement on that breath in, just letting the sternum press forward. And as we breathe out, rounding through the back, maybe drawing the chin to the chest. And just flowing on your own rate, your own rhythm, following the breath. So that inhaling breath, we find the chest pulling forward, and the exhaling breath, rounding through the upper back. So we'll find another 2 or 3 rounds of our cows and cats. Good. And then we'll return to either a seated tall spine or a nice neutral spine in our hands and knees. So the next move that we're going to make will be a side bend. So for those of us that are seated, you're going to drop your left hand down by your left hip. And for those of us that are on our hands and knees, we're going to walk our hands forward and then walk them a little off to the left. So for our seated friends, reach your right arm up on an inhaling breath. And for our hands and knees folks, we're going to draw the hips back towards the heels. So we're getting a little side bend to the left and just feeling into the right side body. So you're welcome to keep that right palm down on the floor. Sometimes it's nice to play around and experiment by lifting the wrist and tenting through the fingers and see if that changes the sensation through the underside of the arm. And we'll just stay here a couple more breaths, just breathing into the right side of the body, whether we're upright or in our child's pose variation. And then nice and slow, we'll start to bring ourselves upright or back to center, walking the hands. This time, bringing the right hand down by right hip or walking the hands over to the right side of your mat and then letting the hips reach back to the heels and bringing the left arm up and arcing over to the right. So finding this nice side bend, breathing some space into the left side of the body this time. And again, if you'd like to leave the left palm down, that's fine. If you want to experiment with lifting the wrists and tenting through the fingers, you might like to explore those different range of sensations. And wherever you are, the reminder to just stay nice and even with your breathing. And then nice and slow, we're either coming back to center or making our way upright. So if we're on hands and knees, we're going to find thread the needle pose. And if you're seated, we're going to find a seated variation of that. So we're going to take the left arm out to the left if we're seated or if we're in our hands and knees position. And for our hands and knees position, we're going to draw the arm all the way under. For our seated position, we're going to draw the arm across and then hook the forearms and stay there. So here's where we might like to have our block. We might be using it like a little pillow as we take the left arm all the way over. We're going to come down onto the left shoulder and finagle our block so that we can rest the side of our head on the block. And the right hand might like to stay where it is on the floor, or you might like to get a little bit more of a twisting sensation, reaching the right arm up and spinning the palm around, bend the elbow, and then drop the back of the hand to reach around for the left hip or side waist, wherever it feels like you're getting a good stretch. Make sure there's no strain on the neck. If you're getting some neck strain, then you might like to take that seated version rather than this one. And we'll stay here for another couple breaths. And then we'll go ahead and reach the right arm up if we twisted it around and bring the right hand down. Press into the palm and then sort of yawn the whole left arm and side body open and then bring the hand down. And if you were in that seated variation, just releasing that. And then we'll make our way over to the other side for our thread the needle. So starting off, reaching the right arm out to the right and then crossing the body, coming down all the way down onto the shoulder, maybe sliding that little block pillow underneath the side of our head and connecting the forearms if we're doing that seated variation. And again, left hand can stay on the mat, palm down, tenting, or reaching the left arm up, spinning the hand around, and then reaching the back of the hand around for the right side waist or right hip. And again, just making sure that this is feeling okay for the neck. The focus here is really an upper body twist. Maybe feeling it through the shoulders, mid-back. Great. Let's stay here another couple breaths. And if we reach that left arm up and around, we'll go ahead and reach the left arm back up and bring it back down. Press into the palm and reach the right arm over to the side. Nice big yawning open here. And then bring the hand back down. So let's slide our block out of the way. And we'll come on over to hands and knees if you were seated just for a moment. And we'll find our first downward dog of the day. So walk the hands about a handprint or so in front of where they were. Tuck the toes under. And as you take a breath out, lift the hips up and back to find that upside down V shape of our downward dog. And you might like to pedal a little bit through the feet, kind of waking up the backs of the legs, giving a little bit of mobility through the ankles. Make sure the fingers are spread nice and wide. And maybe allow the shoulders to widen out and the head to hang down between the arms. Let's all find stillness in our down dog for a couple of breaths. And in finding this stillness, you might like to bend the knees and just draw the chest back towards the thighs. Let's take a big breath in, lift the hips, lift the heels. And as you exhale, bend the knees and look to the hands. And then nice and slow, walk the feet to the front of the mat, coming up to fingertips and breathing in, halfway lift. Exhale, we'll fold. And we'll rise all the way up, reaching the arms overhead, big breath in. And then exhale to bring the hands down. Great. So we'll find a half sun salutation. I'm going to turn to face you. So just start off by finding that comfortable distance apart for your feet. And the hands will come to rest by your side. And then draw the shoulders up, down, and back. Nice. On a big breath in, sweep the arms out, up, and over. And as you exhale, bend the knees as you fold forward. Lift up part way. Hands can come to the shins, the knees or the thighs. And exhale, fold. Press into the feet, rise all the way up. Reach the arms out and over. And maybe connect the hands. As you exhale, draw the thumbs down. Good. Release the hands. Big breath in. Sweep the arms overhead. And exhale, fold. Inhale that halfway lift. And exhale, fold again. Come back to stand. Press into the feet. Breathe in. Reach up. Again, maybe fingers connect. And we pull the hands down through center. Let's do that one more time. Breathe in. Reach out and up. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Back to stand, reaching out. And exhale, pull the hands down. And just when the hands get around the height of the sternum, keep the palms pressed together. Draw the shoulders back. This is our Anjali Mudra. And just find the sternum lifting up towards the thumbs, crown of the head lifting up towards the ceiling, and the shoulders drawing back. We're going to turn this into our full sun salutation now. I'm going to turn to face the top of my mat for this. We'll take a big breath in, and with our exhale, drop the hands down by the side. And then on the inhale, sweep the arms overhead. As you exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift on the inhale. And then plant your hands on the mat. Bend the knees a lot as you exhale. And then inhale to step back, finding a high plank. Now your knees can be lifted, or if it's better, you might like to bring your knees down to the mat. We'll take a big breath in here. And then as we exhale, hug the elbows in, lower all the way down to the chest. Point back through the toes. Keep the elbows hugging in. And as you inhale, reach through the crown of the head to peel the chest away from the floor. And then exhale, release back down. Do that 2 more times. So that inhale, lifting the chest away. And exhale, releasing it back down. Taking care 1 more time. Inhale to lift up just enough so there's no strain on the lower back. Now gather the elbows in by the side. And as you inhale, press into the fingertips to straighten the arms. And exhale, tuck the toes and lift the hips back, downward dog. And just like that first downward dog, you might like to pedal a little bit through the heels, or you might like to just find stillness right off the bat. Maybe you've got some other different ways that you like to move as you explore your downward facing dog. Give yourself permission to move as you wish. We'll take another couple breaths here. Good. Let's go ahead and lift the hips and heels on an inhale. And as we breathe out, bend the knees and look to the hands. And then walk the feet forward. Lift up halfway on that inhaling breath. Exhale, we'll fold. And rise all the way up. Reach the arms overhead. And once more, perhaps connecting the palms and watching the thumbs come down as we breathe out. Stop with the hands in front of the heart. A little reminder of our Hakini Mudra. Letting some space form between the hands and connecting the fingertips. Maybe just letting the eyes close for a moment. Tapping into that sensation of balanced and even breath. A connection with our inner wisdom that we are whole and complete exactly as we are. Take one more full breath in and out. Bring the palms to touch again in our Anjali Mudra. As you exhale, open the eyes and let the hands come by your side. Breathe in, reach the arms overhead. Breathing out, fold forward. Inhale to lift up partway. And exhale, fingertips down for support. Let's start by stepping the left foot to the back of the mat, and we'll find a warrior two. So drop your heel down, strongly press into the right foot and rise yourself up. We'll reach the left arm back, front arm forward, and let's straighten through that front leg and find some pulses. So as we exhale, bend into the right knee, sink the hips down. And inhale, reach the arms overhead as you straighten the leg. And then exhale, return back to your warrior two. Do that just a couple more times. Notice if you need to adjust the position of your legs in any way to make your knees and hips feel comfortable. And we'll do that pulsing one more time. And then settling in, finding that warrior two. Look out over the front middle finger. Imagine as if you're being pulled back a little by that back arm. So the arms are nice and strong. The breath is nice and steady. We'll take one more full breath in. And as we exhale, cartwheel the hands down. Step that right foot to the back of your mat, finding that high plank. Again, knees can be lifted or down. And on our exhaling breath, we're lowering all the way down through chaturanga or from hands and knees. Point back through the toes. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, release. Two more times. Inhale, reach out through the crown. Peel the chest away as you breathe in. Lower it back down as you breathe out. Once more. Good job. Hug the elbows in. Inhale, straighten the arms, lifting the chest away. Exhale, toes tuck under, hips go back, downward dog. And again, maybe finding stillness. Maybe adjusting the position of your feet. Maybe pedaling through the feet. Or finding a different way to move in your downward dog that feels really good for you. And then we'll take a big breath in and lift the hips and the heels. And exhale to bend the knees and look to the hands. And then we'll walk the feet to the front of our mat. Take that breath in to lift up partway. We'll exhale to fold. And rise all the way up, reaching overhead on the breath in. On exhale, pull the hands down through center. Big breath in here. Exhale the hands by your side. Let's do the other side. Inhale, sweep the arms over. Exhale, we fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fingertips down for support. Step the right foot to the back this time. So warrior two, second side. Drop the heel. Press strongly into the left foot. Rise yourself up. Left arm reaches forward. Right arm reaches back. Straighten through the leg. Inhale, reach the arms overhead.
Exhale, return to your warrior two. I'll do this a few more times. So just finding that if you need to adjust the position of your feet for the comfort of your knees or hips, this is a great time to do it. And then we'll do one more pulse. And then settle in, finding that warrior two. And again, looking out over the left middle finger this time. Almost as if we're getting pulled back through that right arm so the arms are nice and strong. Finding that steadiness and breath, equanimity in our breathing, in our energy. One more full breath in. And as we exhale, we cartwheel the hands down to the mat. Step the left foot back, finding our high plank. Again, knees lifted or knees down. On our exhaling breath, hug the elbows in, lower down. Point back through the toes, 3 cobra pulses. Just finding that just enough lift through the chest so that the lower back doesn't feel like it's being compromised. Just a nice stretch through the front. And we gather the elbows in. As we inhale, we straighten the arms. Exhale, hips back, downward dog. And from this downward dog, we're going to find our way into a pigeon pose. And if you know that pigeon pose is really not good for your knees, I'm going to encourage you to take a supine pigeon or seated figure 4. So for those of you that are going to be joining in this pigeon pose, you might like to start off by reaching the right leg up and back in this split dog, and then exhaling to draw the right knee towards the right wrist, and then walking the right heel over a little. Now I like to use a block underneath my right hip as I walk my left leg back. Now some of us might like to just stay where we are and stay upright and just notice that stretch through the front of the left hip, maybe through the chest. Some of us might like to fold ourselves forward. Some of us might be discovering that this is really not comfortable on our right knee, in which case we might want to take a seated figure 4, so bringing the right ankle over top of the left thigh, kind of leaning back into the hands. And this might be great, or we might want to even travel all the way down to the floor and just keep that left foot on the floor as we cross the right ankle over the left thigh. So as always, you know your body best of all and what is going to be best for you. So this is all about getting a nice stretch through the right hip. And if you're in that more traditional of pigeon postures, a little stretch through the left hip flexor. Let's just stay wherever we are for another 2 breaths. And if we're leaning forward, we'll start to place some pressure in the hands to lift ourselves up. And then we can place the hands back down, bring the right leg back, and either find a tabletop, reaching the leg behind, or maybe a downward dog and lifting the right leg up. And if you're in a seated position, just unravel your legs and maybe windshield wiper the knees side to side. And then we'll go ahead and find our next side of our pigeon pose. So taking the left leg up, bringing the left knee towards the left wrist, walking the left heel over to the right. Maybe using that block and sliding it underneath the left hip or folded blanket. Maybe this is the side where we decide that this is not a good idea and we need to take our different variations. Perhaps finding that seated figure 4 or a reclined figure 4. And then that decision, if you're in this more traditional shape, if you'd like to just stay upright, or if you'd like to fold forward. Making sure that the back leg knee is also comfortable. For me, I find it's beneficial to tuck my toes under. It takes a little pressure off, but you might be just fine. If the top of your foot is on your mat, maybe just sneak a little peek and see if you can point your toes back towards the back of your mat. And that might also help you find a little bit more comfort for that back knee.
We'll take a couple more breaths here. Great. And like before, we'll start to find some pressure in the hands if we're folded forward. Slide our block away if we were using it. Make our way back either through a tabletop or a downward dog. Maybe lifting that left leg up and doing a couple of donkey kicks. And then bringing the left foot down, making our way down to our knees, swinging the feet off to the side, find our seat. And if you're already seated, you're ahead of the game. And then we'll just take a little twist. So reaching the legs out in front. We'll start off by taking the right leg and bending it. So bring the sole of the right foot in, just a comfortable distance to your body. So if this feels like it's a lot of pulling on the lower back, you might like to elevate your hips by getting up on that folded blanket or maybe even the block. Block might be too high. So just kind of experiment around. The beauty of this is a recording, so you can press pause if you need to go grab something. So let's take the right hand down by the right hip. And on the breath in, we'll reach the left arm up, get nice and tall. And as you exhale, draw the right shoulder back, entering into this twist. So just notice where your left arm wants to land. It might want to just hug the shin and the crook of the elbow. The back of the arm might rest on top of the right knee, or the arm might cross the body. And so the back of the arm and the outer edge of the right thigh might be connecting. Just make sure that it's not too much twisting and you're not forcing yourself into any shape. This is a practice to feel good in your body. Notice the crown of the head lifting up. You notice the weight of that right foot pressing down and the back of the left thigh pressing down, allowing your spine to get really tall and maybe creating a little more space for yourself to deepen the twist with minimal effort. And if you like, you can look over that right shoulder, adding in a little sense of a stretch through the neck. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And on your exhaling breath, unwind yourself back to center. Let's extend the right leg, maybe give it a little shake. And then we'll do the other side. So bending the left knee. And again, just bringing the sole of the foot in line, perhaps with the inner edge of the right knee, maybe a little bit more forward. Left hand will go behind for a little bit of support. Reach up on that breath in with the right arm, and then exhale into your twist. And again, just notice where your arm wants to land. It might want to come in front of the shin. Maybe the back of the arm will rest on top of the knee. Maybe it'll cross all the way over. And being mindful of the breath, but also of the sensations in your body. So making sure that, again, you're not forcing yourself into a shape. And keeping that awareness of pressing the sole of the left foot down, back of the right thigh, reaching up through the crown, perhaps creating a little bit of space, twist a little deeper with minimal effort. Looking over the left shoulder, a little stretch through the right side of the neck. A couple more breaths here. And with that exhaling breath, unwinding yourself back to center, straightening out through the left leg. Again, maybe a little rock there would be good. And then we'll make our way down onto our backs, any way that works for you. So rolling down, crawling down. And once you get down, just walk the heels in towards the buttocks. And you might like to press the backs of the arms into the floor just to help get the shoulders down and the chest a little lifted. And we'll go ahead and draw both knees in towards the chest. And you can either hold onto the knees or the backs of the thighs. And you might like to just do a little side to side rocking through the hips. You might like to bring your hands to the tops of your knees and just sort of steer your legs into some hip circles, allowing yourself to go a few times in each direction, really feeling that shifting of the weight as you make these circles as a little massage for the lower back.
And then when it feels just right, one final hug of the thighs in. And then go ahead and bring your feet down to your mat. You might like to wiggle your feet as wide as your mat and then let the bent knees lean into one another. You might like to let your legs extend and bring your arms by your side. The palms might feel comfortable facing up or down. Or you might like to just rest your hands on your lower abdomen. Find what feels like a good position for you. And allow yourself to kind of wiggle in place. You might like to do a little shaking of the head no, and maybe a little yes, just to find that perfect placement for your head so your neck feels really comfortable. And depending on what you've got scheduled for your day, you might like to stay for a few minutes, or you might only be able to stay in this resting posture for a few breaths. Wherever you are and however long you have, just take one more minute to settle into that message that we discovered from our Hakini Mudra, that we are whole and complete exactly as we are. And take this message with you throughout your day, perhaps even reminding yourself from time to time, I am whole and complete, exactly as I am. Feel free to stay in Savasana for as long as you wish. Namaste.